Well, hello. I'm Corinne Goebel, CEO of the Association of Women's Business Centers, and I am so excited to be with you today here in a studio at the Amazon Accelerate Conference, a national annual conference taking up 4 floors of this amazing, huge convention center in Seattle. And I get to do this really great recording with a special guest that I'm excited to introduce you to. Saif Mohammed. He's a global expert in Amazon, and he brings more than 15 years of experience driving growth and innovation. And he himself has had a journey in small business and selling globally. So we're really excited to uncover more about Amazon's tools and all of the great opportunity to globally sell. Saif understands all of these types of challenges and those opportunities that entrepreneurs are facing. And so with this diverse industry experience that he has, which spans multiple sectors and all across the globe, including technology, banking, logistics, and payments, as well as e-commerce, we're going to be calling on that expertise in our discussion today. He'll be sharing valuable insights about Amazon's US website, as well as Amazon's websites in other countries to develop a truly global brand. So I hope you'll join me in welcoming Saif Mohammed. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for your kind words.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really excited to get into this today. Before we get started, though, I would like you to tell us a little bit more about your background beyond what I've shared, and specifically, really how you got this passion to support small business and, connected to Amazon's global work.
Absolutely. So I grew up in India. I did my education in engineering, worked in software engineering for 2.5 years, and then did my MBA in finance. Worked in banking for a year and a half, then jumped to logistics, and then I joined an Amazon JV company in India. My role
JV, can I interrupt you?
It's a joint venture company.
Thank you, okay.
In that joint venture company, my role was to build a team which will help small sellers in India sell on Amazon India website. And that was my first exposure to e-commerce, first exposure to Amazon, first exposure working with small businesses. And I was able to see firsthand how Amazon was able to change lives of small businesses. There were sellers where they started in a small shop in a small town in India, went on to become multi-million-dollar businesses, with a person working in their own one-bedroom apartment, making a small art and craft business, to having like 100, 200 member team. And I was able to see those success stories, and those stories just inspired me on how my day-to-day work is actually changing lives for the sellers, for their families, for the communities, as well as for the customers who are able to access products from remote corners of the country. In my current role in Amazon US business, I lead global selling, new seller development. So my team and I, we work with small sellers, I would say sellers of any size, and help them expand globally. Our core focus is the European market, because I would say this is the next biggest market for us after the US. And my team and I, every day, every morning when we get up, I think we work on the same single mission of how do we make the lives of our sellers easier. On the personal front, I'm happy to be married to my lovely wife. She's a medical psychiatrist, and we have a 2.5-year-old son. So he keeps us busy. I've been living in Seattle for 3.5 years now. So exploring the Pacific Northwest, all the hiking trails, all the scenic views in Seattle.
You've had a lot of experience with small business. You mentioned being in India, being in the UK, but now in your current role, taking all that experience here to benefit US companies, what are you really seeing right now as the current challenges facing small businesses today?
Yeah, I would say Amazon has made it selling across the US super easy for, I would say, sellers, retailers, whether they are manufacturers or brand owners or just resellers, made it super easy. Having said that, expanding to a new market, let's say UK or Germany, was a super challenging task for these sellers. So Amazon has been working on this mission on making it simpler and as seamless as possible to make that journey from, let's say, a US seller sitting in a small town somewhere in the Midwest and helping them expand to, let's say, 28 EU countries, or let's say other countries like Japan, Australia. So it was very complex for a seller to do that.
It sounds very daunting. If I'm here in the US and I want to sell some product somewhere in Europe, there's so much to overcome, whether it's regulation or the logistics. So we'd love to know.
Yeah. So let's say without Amazon, if a seller, it could be like they could be a manufacturer or reseller. The first step would be for them to identify what are the right products to sell in a new market, right? Because what works in the US, or I would say what works in Midwest probably doesn't work as well in the UK or Germany. So first step for any business is to identify the products that they want to launch. So that's step one. Step two is going through all the regulatory requirements. So let's say you need a tax compliance, you need product level compliance, you need environmental compliance. So a lot of, I would say, regulation that a business has to go through. Step three is, okay, now you have the products, you've gone through the compliance. Third step is how will you reach your customers? So probably you'll have to build your own website, or maybe to tie up with like local brick and mortar businesses or retail chains. So that's a step three on how do you reach your customer. Step four, now you have solved the first three, is how do you manage the logistics? Where will you store your products? What will happen when you ship the product and then you get a return? So that's the logistics complexity. Fifth complexity is on the payment side. How will you manage the payments? So it was super complex for any business to expand globally, and it was something which was, I would say, done only by very large organization, because only they had that, I would say, capital where they can invest so much in doing this global expansion. A lot of small businesses, medium-sized businesses, it was like daunting for them. It was like almost like close to impossible for them to make those investments, go through the long compliance process and launch in a new market. So that was the process without Amazon. Now, if I go to how Amazon makes it easier, so what Amazon has been working on over the last decade or so is trying to solve each bottleneck, or each, like the 5 steps that I mentioned. Amazon works on solving the problem at each level. So let us starting with how do you identify the right products for a new market. So imagine if I'm a seller selling on Amazon US, Amazon already knows a lot about my products, what is working, what is not working. And because Amazon has these websites in the UK, Germany, we know what is working in those markets. So Amazon uses machine learning and artificial intelligence. So look at a seller's products in US market and maps it to what is the demand in a European market. And using machine learning, we're able to shortlist the products which we believe with high confidence that they will work in a new market. And we surface that to the seller saying, hey, you have these 1,000 products. Out of these 1,000, we believe these 50 are a good fit for UK market. These 100 are a good fit for German market. So we give that recommendation on our Sell Globally website. Step 2 is the regulatory part. Now, Amazon does not just tell you what are the regulations that you need to comply with. We also have signed up with the service providers which will do it for you. So rather than just stopping at telling, hey, do this, we have actually tried to build a support system, our service provider network, which will help you go through your tax compliance, product level compliance, and environmental compliance. So we have negotiated rates, and sellers can just use those negotiated rates versus going and searching the web and finding a new service provider. So that's the step 2 part of it, which is I would say the compliance part of it. Step 3 is reaching a new customer and finding a new customer. Because we have these websites in all these major countries in Europe as well as globally, you can just list your product on those websites and get access to millions of Amazon customers, including Amazon Prime customers, which I would say spend significantly higher as compared to non-Prime customers. So we are solving the third part of, hey, you don't have to build your own website. You can just leverage Amazon and get access to millions of customers. Fourth part, which is the logistics part. Now, Amazon has invested over the decades in building these strong fulfillment networks. So we have our fulfillment centers and we have a strong logistics capability. So as a seller, you don't have to worry about that. Amazon, you just ship your products to an Amazon FC, store the inventory, and Amazon will take care of the rest. So that's the fourth part, which is the logistic. Again, payments, Amazon accepts almost like all established cards networks, so you don't have to worry about that. So end to end, if you see, starting with identifying the right product for the right market, all the way till like compliance and payments and logistics, Amazon takes care of everything. And I would say the cherry on top of all of this is most of our costs are variable. So there's no major fixed investment that a seller has to do from their end. So a small seller with, I would say, a few $1,000s investment to start with can just start selling their products in, I would say, 28 EU countries. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible. You've mapped out this journey, which maybe not everyone already knew anyway, and you've identified how Amazon can steward the process for small businesses, not just to reach one country, which might have taken thousands of dollars to access with that kind of direct selling kind of effort, but with what you've described, how is that different than maybe any other options or other solutions out there in the marketplace?
We call it Sell Globally website. A seller can just go on, follow the step-by-step process, because we just don't list down the steps that you have to follow, but we also help you with the right service providers. So instead of somebody trying to do it offline and figuring out things on their own, now you have one single, one-stop place where you can go, know the process, and just execute step by step and start selling. So it's like significantly, I would say, easier and simpler as compared to, let's say, any other solution.
I mean, this seems like super organized and streamlined and all in one place.
Yeah.
And if Amazon doesn't provide it directly, you've got the providers right there
Yeah.
that help do it for the business. I mean, it seems like it's a one-stop shop in a way, even if maybe you're factoring in some of the other, providers. So I think you already helped us identify how businesses get started. Anything else you would want to add there?
I would say that's our process. Obviously, once you enter a new market, we also help the sellers build a brand. So let's say if I'm a big brand here in the US, probably people in the UK or Germany probably don't know more about me. So Amazon has our advertisement solutions and branding solutions. So we encourage sellers to, when they enter a new market, to basically leverage Amazon's branding and advertisement to help build a brand in the new market, so that they could be as well recognized in a new market, let's say UK or Germany, as good as they are, let's say, recognized in US. So I think we definitely encourage sellers to leverage all the additional Amazon tools, which will help them create and establish their brand in a new market.
Yeah. And then anything else you would want to add, Steph, to like the seller experience through this process?
Yeah. I would say seller experience is something which is the highest priority for us. As I mentioned earlier, like every morning when we start our work, that's our North Star. We keep looking at every friction point. Like, although we have like significantly improved the process versus what it was earlier, what it was without Amazon, but every day when we come to work, we continue to look at opportunities where we can make it smoother and easier and more seamless and more automated. So we keep working on it, and we have like additional initiatives which are coming over the next 18 months, which will make it actually significantly. It's a journey, so we'll keep on improving this. There's always something to improve and make it better.
And then can you talk about what are the specific parts of this process that the sellers need to manage themselves?
There are certain parts of this which Amazon cannot do on behalf of sellers. For example, let's say getting a VAT in all these new markets that you want to launch. That's something the seller would have to do. What Amazon has done is we have identified the service providers and negotiated a rate which you can leverage. But at the end of the day, it's something which sellers will have to work with those service providers to get a VAT for their business. So that's something which sellers will have to do. The other thing is shipping the products from, let's say, US to UK or US to Germany. That's, again, what Amazon has done is we have identified the service providers who can do that. But at the end of the day, the shipping of the inventory will have to be managed between the seller as well as the service provider. So those, I would say, two major aspects, like the compliance part as well as the physical shipping of products, where sellers will still have to directly get involved and work with the SPNs.
Can you talk a little bit more about what the costs are involved?
So as I mentioned, we have these service providers that we have already negotiated the rates, and we have a range. So to start with, let's say, VAT, which is a mandatory requirement in the UK and Germany. So we have service providers which offer like country level VAT, starting, I would say, $600, and the more premium service providers go all the way to $2,000. So I would say in the neighborhood of $600 to $2,000, you get VAT for one country in the Europe. We recommend sellers to get 3 in an ideal state, so that 3 VAT will enable you to sell in all of Europe, which is 28 EU countries. But a seller can start with just one country, depending on the investment that they want to make. So that's the VAT, or I would say tax compliance part of it. But there are also environmental compliance as well as product level compliance, because what is permissible in the US may not be permissible in Germany because of European Union regulation. So sellers will have to go product by product from a compliance perspective, and that changes significantly. With some products having 0 compliance, you don't have to do anything. But if you are selling, let's say, a consumable product like a beauty product, the compliance standards could be different country by country. So the sellers will have to work with a service provider to get that compliance done. And that ranges significantly. And so it depends on the type of products and number of products you want to start with. So that could be an additional cost over and beyond the initial tax cost.
But that's not really Amazon program costs. So
Yes, yeah.
hard to anticipate like what product labeling changes or product engineering changes. Obviously, that's not Amazon's requirements, right?
Yes,
So
that would be requirement to sell in that country with or without Amazon.
you've specialized in taking someone, a business who's not selling, to that point of selling. You talked about that experience back in India. When in your role now, what recommendations do you bring to the table to help sellers really take full advantage of this opportunity?
I think one of the, I would say, North Star that we have at Amazon is the seller experience. We want to make it as seamless, as self-service as possible, so that it's not dependent on a single person or a team to enable that. So our Sell Globally website, which is a single source where the seller can log in and get all the steps that they need to follow, we have tried to make it super automated. So instead of we keeping it to a human to share that, we have actually listed all those details on our Sell Globally website, and it's customized for each seller. Because what works for me may not work for other seller, because my products are different. The stage of my business, whether I'm, let's say, doing $100,000 a year versus $100 million a year, I will have a different recommendation, which is best for me. So Amazon leverages machine learning and AI to give customized recommendation to seller on what are the steps that they can do to expand their business, grow their business, which includes like our advertisement solutions, as well as, I would say, launching with the right products.
I love what you're saying. This information's already there. It's customized for the seller, and they can access it anytime, even if they want to explore this at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m.
Yeah.
But if they run into an issue, how can small businesses get support?
Of course. So we have our seller support team. So sellers can reach out to the seller support anytime and then get support in case they, I would say, need additional information or additional support on something. We've also launched AI-powered chat experience where you don't have to get on a call. You can just like type your queries and you can get your response. So again, as I said, like we will continue to innovate. We'll continue to make it easier and more seamless for our sellers. And it's a journey, and we'll keep working on that to make it the best possible we can.
Well, you do have plans for the future, it sounds like. So can you share a little bit more about what features you anticipate coming or where you want to go with this innovation?
I think with the advancement in AI, we are seeing a lot of opportunities where we can make it more customized and more, I would say, focused at a seller and SKU level. So we are leveraging GenAI to give, I would say, more detailed inputs to the seller at a product level. So for example, let's say if I'm a shoe manufacturer somewhere in Pacific Northwest, on the Sell Globally website in the future, a seller can actually see how much business can I expect from my shoe products in UK versus Germany? What is the price range in which I should be selling to maximize my revenue? So I think with Gen AI and with machine learning, we are trying to get more focused and more pointed in the guidance that we're providing to the seller. On the other hand, like we're trying to make it as self-serve as possible.
Thank you so much, Saif. I mean, you have given us such great insight and step-by-step, checking all the boxes on what a business is going to need to move their whole journey forward from selling effectively here in the US to now selling to dozens of countries in Europe. And so with that, I hope you'll join me in thanking Saif. It was really great to be with you here today and to be here in Amazon Studios. We look forward to sharing more great resources, and good luck selling overseas.